3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Another episode of TnT Knows It All Sports. I'm your sad host, Tye. And over on this side is my man's, is a little happier than me.
Yep, excited. When they say wild card weekend, it was actually a wild card weekend to remember for the ages. What a
Wild,
weekend.
wild card weekend. So we got another week to talk. We'll talk about the wild card, we'll give you some of the results, talk about the games, divisional round preview, talk about a couple of coaching decisions. But first and foremost, we have to start, unfortunately, with this team.
I'm sorry, so sorry
Oh, these guys.
that I was
Such
such
a fool
a I didn't know
that they would choke. So
love could be so cruel.
yeah,
That's
I
cruel, man.
it's cruel,
Cruel.
man. So have to start off with my boys. Uh, Dallas Cowboys, the 2 seed, um, home home field advantage for up until the NFC Championship game. More than a touchdown favorite. 16 straight home wins. 16 straight home wins. We're down, lost in the first round, and we're down 48-16 at one point. It was look, losing happens, but that wasn't losing. That was an embarrassment. It got to a point that I was watching the game and I was just laughing. I was like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Um, I'm utterly embarrassed at being a Cowboys fan, and not because I thought, and this is nothing, as you guys have watched the show, I didn't think Dallas was going to win the Super Bowl anyway. So we can pump the brakes on that, especially once Trayvon Diggs got hurt. Like that was huge. Once he got hurt, and you saw that this weekend, Deron Bland, glad you had all those picks. You're a bum.
Mm.
You're a third corner for a reason. We knew that and got exposed. And he's gonna get pick sixes. He was getting catches. I think they showed like he had like the highest completion percentage against him per target in the NFL. But besides all that, we got utterly outcoached from every aspect of the game. Dallas showed up. They did not look ready to play. Green Bay's not that good. They looked like they were the best team that had ever played football. They scored, they scored on 6 of their first 7 possessions. First drive, they're like, oh, we'll take the ball, drive it all the way down the field and score a touchdown. But you know what's interesting about that, Thomas, is we actually stopped them on that first drive. But what happened? Penalties.
Right.
Deron Bland decided to hold. He didn't need to hold. The ball wasn't even thrown. It wasn't even on his side. He holds. They get a first down. Boom, 20-something yard play. The next play, boom, touchdown. Um, I there are our offense. Dak Prescott, who's pictured here appropriately, um, he looked like the old Dak. He hadn't looked like that all year. I thought our defense actually would struggle. I kind of thought that was going to happen, but I thought we were going to be able to score because their defense is not very good. And he went back to the shuffle feet. Remember last year, I showed the video in the playoffs of like, what is he doing? Why is he making that read? Why did he throw that ball in the middle when he had CeeDee Lamb outside and CeeDee Lamb was yelling at him like, hey, dog, look at me, I'm wide open. Remember that? That was like that was like our second show. Thomas on the interception when he threw to Brandon Cooks, it was the same exact thing. He didn't even look right behind Brandon Cooks, right in the same vicinity. Again, looking in that direction. Is CeeDee Lamb wide open?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even look. He should be your first read at all times. Guys playing trail position, trail, you know he's doing an out, you throw it out there. Even if it doesn't get caught, it's gonna be an incompletion. Why are you jamming the ball in the middle when you don't need to? To Brandon Cooks? I
Right.
I I I am still in shock. Talk to my mom, my dad, who are Cowboys fans, is why I'm a Cowboys fan. I always curse them out every year and very upset at them for making me a Cowboys fan. Um, and I just told them like, this is who we are. I knew that we were not gonna make changes, but we need to make changes, man. Like, you can't show up and be unprepared. And what it comes down to is when your coach is like, hey, consistency, we do the same thing every week. That's what it is. You're gonna lose. Sounds like that's the right thing to do, but it's not. Because when you get to playoffs, you actually got to do stuff different. You have to game plan. You have to coach versus the team that you're playing and to try
Right.
to beat them. I need to beat them 1 week. Not McCarthy. The most basic play calls ever, all the simple stuff. And then Dan Quinn. I I mean, I like Dan Quinn. I think he's a good motivator, but the game plan that he had was atrocious. You
Mhm.
drop Michael Parsons into coverage like 5, 6 times on 3rd and long. What are you doing? Why are you trying to be cute now? Put him in there to try to make a play. That's the one time you know he's actually can actually make a play. When it's not known passing downs, he's not that great. And he didn't, by the way, he didn't do anything. Again, Thomas, Michael Parsons,
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
Not a thing. Didn't show up. So all this pain, and I'm sorry I've talked about this, but I have a lot to say. So all this pain and all these things, we're 12-5. This week we talked about what should we do with our coach. All these great coaches out there. Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, Vrabel, like guys that know they're gonna get, their team is going to play hard and be prepared. You know they're going to be prepared. You will never, ever, ever, ever doubt that. What did Dallas decide to do? We're like, you know what? Let's give it another shot. Let's bring it back because we're so close. Are we? Are we close? The guy couldn't get him prepared to play a home playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. And we're close? It is the most frustrating thing ever to be a Cowboys fan. Knicks fan, and being a Knicks fan is close. But at least the Knicks play hard. We just don't usually have as much talent as everybody else. Dallas has talent. They're just stupid. So the penalties, the ability to not game plan, the failure of, and this is a key point, regardless why we weren't going to win, the failure to address the problems that we had seen from beginning of the year, which is you needed to get a running back, you needed to get a linebackers. They lined up 54 snaps. 49 of those snaps were in dime. That is 6 cornerbacks against a team that ran for 190 yards on you. You still think you need to run with all secondary? Why? And then with 6 corners or 2 safeties, 3, 4 safeties or whatever, you still can't guard anybody. So you're
Right.
not stopping the run. You're not stopping the pass. It's embarrassing. Now, I don't blame Dan Quinn 100% for that because you look at our roster, we actually don't have any linebackers. I blame the front office. Everybody knew that the Cowboys need a linebacker. We need to figure out how to get a linebacker. The Bills, they called up AJ Klein. He was sitting on the damn couch. He gets out
RV.
there, huh?
He was
Yeah,
he was he was
yes,
getting that
yes.
RV
Pull
pack.
out RV. This guy gets 12 to, well, how many tackles? Yeah, 12, 15? I don't know.
Yeah. 12 tackles. Yeah.
12 tackles. We were like, no, we're good. We'll still line up with a 190-pound guy to get mauled by by the guards and the offensive line for the pack. For everybody. We couldn't stop the run. The Bills game. After the Bills game, I was like, okay, they'll learn. Nope, didn't do anything.
Shame on me.
Shame on me. So I'm sorry that I was such a fool. to trust these guys, and not even trust them. I didn't think they're going to win the Super. I knew I'm realistic. I talked to my mom about this. I said, look, we can win this first game. We won the first game last year, but we're going to lose. We know that. We know the inevitability. But to not win this game is unforgivable to me. Unforgivable. And that's it for me for a bit. Like, I mean, I can't give up on them, but I really don't want to talk about them. So that's my Cowboy soliloquy that you guys are gonna get. I don't have any film for you because I had plenty of film. I couldn't even rewatch the game, but there's tons and tons of film to watch. And F those boys, okay? Just put that. F them. All right. Sorry. Go ahead. 10 minutes of me going on.
Who could we compare the Cowboys to? Like the Rockets with Harden?
No.
No. Okay.
No. Because the Rockets got to the Western Conference Championship with players that are not as good as Dallas.
Sure.
You didn't see the Rockets choking and losing to like the Grizzlies, in the first round when the Grizzlies were terrible. That didn't happen. Dallas happens. 2 home playoff losses out of the 3.
They're not Aaron Rodgers and the Packers because at least they were, got to a Super Bowl. Yeah, it's hard. They're one of a kind, man. They're one of a kind. So I was watching the game, so I was watching the game. I was like, okay, Green Bay just marched down. You're right about that holding call. It was like, what, 3rd and 6?
Third and
goal. 3rd and goal.
No, before goal. No, not even that one. That was the offside you're talking about.
Okay,
that's another penalty.
Right.
I didn't even talk about that one.
Okay. So they scored a touchdown.
Yep.
I was like, oh shit, okay. Then Dallas went down, punted the ball. Now, then Dallas stopped Green Bay at the 49 or 48-yard line, whatever it was, right? So they got the ball back. Now, this was a turn of events. That's the interception you talked about, where it was Jair Alexander intercepting on Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
When CeeDee Lamb was wide open in that post route you ran.
Yep.
That's because they stopped them. You drive down seven different games. It's a momentum changer.
Yep.
They intercepted. They get 14 points. I thought Jair Alexander was going to score a touchdown on that one, but they get 14 points. And I just feel like that mentally got out of the game because that interception later on you threw Savage. I mean, the guy literally read his eyes. He was locking in on his wide receivers, and it was old Dak. I don't know if this man gets nervous or anything, but that was by far the worst game he played all season. And he had a great season. This is all-pro, second-team all-pro, right? Dak second-team all-pro and MVP candidate and everything. And he looked terrible. Now, the stats are going to say that he played okay, but we all know the game was 48-16 with 6 minutes left in the game. And Dak got a lot of garbage touchdowns. I'm in his fantasy survivor league. Ferguson and all these guys were getting all these extra points, but it was bad. I mean, you broke it down. It was just a bad game. Execution was terrible. People didn't even look like. Speaking about Parsons, I didn't even know he was on the field. To be honest, I was like, where is he at? You can't be going on these podcasts, bro, and talking all this stuff and talking mess about players, and you are non-existent in literally the last 3 games. He hasn't done shit the last 3 games. I know people will say, oh, he gets held, and like the Miami game, you saw him get hold and everything. That's cool. A lot of great defense ends get hold. But what are you doing? And they run at you. That's the crazy part. He's not a good run stopper. So people are now even the strategy is Bills did that. Wherever Marcus Parsons was, we're gonna put a tackle on him and get a hold of him, run at him.
Yep.
So it just didn't really look good at all. And kudos to Green Bay because those are the teams, and we'll talk about the other team in a second. But when you got teams that have nothing to play for, they're gonna throw the whole kitchen sink at your ass, So because Luke but then to your point, last one I want to make don't want to make fun of the Cowboys, but I think this is hilarious. You got 6 you ran dime, right? And you let the most open person in an NFL season, according to Next Gen Stats, by 15.6 yards open at Luke Musgrave touchdown.
Yep.
That he was the most open of anybody all year.
Yep.
Was during the playoff in a dime defense.
Yep.
I mean,
that's because they were so afraid of the run that when they did that play action left, You see Musgrave go past Clark and Bell. Now, Clark
Right.
is supposed to let him go by him. Bell is supposed to be the person there, but he's like, look, I've seen you, Clark, get ran over at least 5 times in a row. I need to go help you. That's what he was thinking, which is clearly
Right.
wrong because you're playing man to man.
Right.
He completely let the guy go by him. And then and what annoys me is, and I wonder sometimes is, at a certain point is play action. Like, shouldn't you turn around? Like he stood there and was like, "Oh, it's play action. Let me backpedal." No,
Right.
turn around and look to see there anybody on my side because I'm literally the only person on this side. Nope, he didn't do that. Next thing you know, you saw
Oh,
Musgrave there. He
he.
threw a duck. It was like we were playing.
Yeah, that's
Remember we
what I
used to
was
play
gonna say.
500. We used to play 500. Like 100. That was him. Threw up in the air.
And the pass wasn't that great. He had to like
No.
reach down to get it, and he had time, and he's got time to go to the end zone. But we'll move on. That was Dallas played a terrible game. I don't get Mike McCarthy. You know how my feelings are about Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones just wants a puppet. Jerry can't say that he wants to win the Super Bowl and keep Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry. You got out coached. You got to get fired. I don't give a shit if the Dallas Cowboys were 15-1 or 16-1, I should say. And they lost like that. You gotta fire the coach. You gotta
And it's
fire him.
and it's not. Here's the thing, Thomas, and we can move on. And it's not just this game. You can look at the entire season. It's like Buffalo, right?
Right.
Buffalo beat the Steelers because I told you there's no way they're going to lose the Steelers, right? That just they didn't have the talent to beat them. They just did
Right.
not. But you watch the season with the talent that they had, and you're like, yo, if the coaching was very suspect in a lot of those games. Now McDermott has been good. He's turned things around. McCarthy, literally 3 weeks ago. So it's not like it was like, oh, he was bad early, he got better, and then later in the year, the Lions game, bad mismanagement, throwing the ball when you could just run out the clock. The Dolphins game, again, these guys turnovers, the Bills game not getting them showed up. Like these are all recent games.
Right.
So you actually should start to think about who he is when it matters most. And if they would have
Yeah.
done that to me, if I would have done a self-evaluation, like, fine, I get it. You can't fire him. This is Dak's best season, right? But I need my team to be prepared, all of my entire team to be prepared. And they were not prepared.
It was terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah. All right. So we did our Cowboys segment. I'm done with them. And so we're on to the rest of the wild card round.
I'll say the game that surprised me honestly was the Texans putting the ass whooping on the Browns. That's two games. If you actually would have not told me the teams and told me the scores for that game, the score, I would have said, "Oh damn, the Browns put the whooping on their ass."
Yep.
And the Browns got their ass whooped.
Yes,
badly.
It was interesting. I would say, and I was just having this conversation. Couple things about that game quick. One, Joe Flacco became Joe Flacco. He was like, man, I'm just out here. I'm just happy
Well,
to
he
be out
was
here.
leading interception. You leading the league in interceptions.
So we knew it. Guaranteed he was gonna, we said it. We said we guaranteed he's gonna throw a pick at least.
Right.
By the way, I took that as one of my bets as one of the things like plus, I don't know, it was like over half an interception. I was like, oh, that's a lock of the year. So that was part one. Part two is this. I'm not a big people talk about rankings because of yards, but you have to watch teams play.
Right.
I do believe some people I know do not believe that home and road matters, but it clearly does because you watch game and you can tell people can't communicate as well on the road as they do at home. If you look at the Browns on the road compared to home, how many points per game they're giving up and yards, it is glaring. So that was one thing. The second thing is there was that stat. The Browns corners have not given up a touchdown. The starting two corners have not given up a touchdown all season. But you know who has? Newsome, number 0. And the Texans were eyeing his behind the entire game, the slot corner. It was great game planning. I give them 100% credit because I remember watching the Ravens game when the Browns beat the
You mean
Ravens.
Emerson? It was Emerson or Newsom?
Newsom, zero.
Okay,
Newsom.
okay, number 0. Okay,
He
Emerson's a slot, but
yeah, he is getting roasted.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
And he actually, if you look at him, he gets roasted a lot.
Hmm.
Actually, he does a lot of chirping and talking and then gets beat. So they were like, "Oh, we got you. You're gonna jump all these routes,"
Hmm.
and they abused him. It
Yep.
was great game planning. And you know what? They didn't throw. I don't remember them throwing to Denzel Ward's side like at all the entire game. They're like, why?
No, they didn't.
Why?
Nico Collins was eating Newsom alive.
Yeah. They're like, why? What's the point? And so
Right.
you didn't adjust, Schwartz. I would have been like, look, sorry, Ward, you're playing Nico Collins the entire game. I don't care where he goes. He goes into the locker room. You're fouling him to make sure he's got enough, Charmin. you know, like I'm telling you, like that's what I would have done. So
Right.
great game plan for the Texans. I do think it was a little extreme, of course, how the game went, but
Well, two pick
yeah,
sixes,
two
kind
pick
of.
sixes. I mean, that's right. The Browns actually could move the ball. It's not that they couldn't move the ball,
No,
but they were making mistakes. So, hey,
yeah.
props to the Texans.
I'm,
Definitely didn't see that game coming.
I'll make it simple. Larry Tunsil
Oh,
outperformed Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett
mhm.
didn't even have a pressure. He actually had his worst game on PFF's score. I forgot the score. It was bad, but Larry Tunsil was the MVP of that game because
Yeah,
CJ Stroud, people are going to say CJ Stroud held on the ball long. Because he had time. He was like, okay, well, I see Nico down there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, fuck it, let me throw it up there. I
yep,
see Nico, and Nico should have had 2 touchdowns. I had him I picked him on my Survivor League.
yeah,
Should have had 2 if he had underthrow him, right?
right.
So great job by them. And then the last part I would say is what did we say that the Browns needed to do in this game?
Run the ball.
Run the ball. They didn't even try to run until later on. Like, you guys got to run the ball. You
Yep.
had too many 3 and outs, or you were getting first down, and the next drive was 3 and out. Weren't running it. You were letting You thought Joe Flacco was Baltimore Joe Flacco. Like,
Yep.
what are you doing, right?
Yep.
And so I get what they were trying to do because they were getting David and Joku was wide open a
Hmm.
few times, but you can see, like, there was one drive, you remember the drive. If he actually, Joe Flacco, this is why his ass was on the couch. Okay, he
Right.
had a throw that David Joku. It was early in the game. These are momentums, right? Just like the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And you see, he can't make that throw. And he
Yeah.
kind of got it late in David Njoku, so he had to catch it, and the D-back caught up with him.
Yeah.
If he threw it to him if he threw it to him while he was running, touchdown, 7-7. That game is different.
Yep.
But now you're 3 and out, and because you threw under, so
Yeah.
we all knew. By the way, people talk about Josh. I love the media. Josh Allen throws a lot of interception. Joe Flacco has the most interception, most turnovers since being a starting quarterback. Just throwing a stat out there.
Yeah, I said that
So,
last week. I said he was number one in the league in interceptions, and I was like, I said I thought he would give it. I thought it would be a low-scoring game because I thought they would run. I thought they would watch the film and say, "Yeah, we need to run it." Last game we were able to throw for 200 some yards with Cooper or with Amari Cooper. That's not going to happen this game. The Texans aren't stupid, which didn't
right.
happen. I was like, so it means you're going to have to run, and they couldn't run. They couldn't run week the first time they played, and they couldn't run this time. So, anyways, bye bye. And that's also what I said about the offensive coordinator. That's why he got fired.
Yep.
Yep. So that was terrible game planning, and people are like, why would you fire him? Because I watched the game. You're not smart. You got your
Right.
fifth quarterback that you played, literally fifth. They say fourth,
Right.
but he's actually the fifth. And you throw the ball 55 times.
And
All
let me add this: the Texans traded Deshaun Watson to the Browns. Right? People forget that trade,
right.
and they made it further. And one of their draft picks resulted Will Anderson Jr., who actually played pretty well. So
Yep. That's smart. All right. So that was we got rid of all the Texas games. So on the next game, we'll talk about before we get to your background is we'll talk about the Lions and Rams. That
great
was a
game.
great game. I missed some of it because I had my own basketball game, but I definitely caught the recording. Um, very good game. Matt Stafford is a beast, man. That guy is such a great football player. Um, but props to the Lions, man. They showed heart. They were tough. They figured out a way to win a game that honestly they shouldn't have won. Like, I
Right.
mean, they
That
kind of got
call.
outplayed. That was a bad call. These refs are definitely suspect. But you know what? It really comes down to second half. They didn't allow them to get any points. They didn't get any touchdowns. They were like, they drove down the field, they got in the red zone and they stopped them. They had to kick 2 field goals. And that was the game. That was the game. It was 6-3 in the second half. And that was
Right.
just enough for them to win. And so I give props to their defense for stepping up when they needed to.
Right. I mean, the only thing I watched the game. The only thing I added was in the beginning, I thought the Lions were going to maul over them. Right? They're running the ball and everything, and then, like good coaches do, unlike some coaches, right? They adjusted. They adjusted, and Detroit didn't. And I would, if I was Detroit, I would have stick to the run. And I get why they didn't do it because St. Brown was just eating out there.
Yeah.
But it was a good game. It was actually for me. It makes me feel better for the next round. We'll talk about it because that was the game that Detroit needed to get off their back. They haven't won a playoff game since 1991. Okay,
Right.
so we were 11 years old, 12 years old
Yeah.
when they yep.
And I
I
know,
was 11 at the
unfortunately, there was the original
10
uh,
actually. That was 10.
yeah, there's the original crying. I was 11.
Right.
We were the last team that they beat, and I remember that game. They beat the crap out of us. I remember being very, very, very upset.
Yeah, so they had to get it, emotions and Matthew Stafford. This is the first time Detroit was actually, somewhat had a chance to win. The other teams when they're 0-1 with Stafford, I don't know, they really didn't have a chance to win that game. But
Yeah.
so good job for the Lions. They get home field advantage next week. We'll talk about that game.
Yep.
And the next game, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, the next game I really don't care to talk about.
Right.
Which is the Eagles and the Bucks. I mean, let me just break it down. The Eagles have lost. They technically should have lost 6 games in a row with the Bills, right?
Right.
So they lost 6 games. They lost 5.
They
6
also
games in a row?
because they won that one, but they also beat the Giants. Remember, on like
that
lucky.
right.
But they're killing the Giants, and then they put Tyrod in, and Tyrod brought them back, and they only lost by 5. And really, they almost lost that game.
Yeah, the last 5 games they lost like 5 out of 6 games,
5 or 6.
whatever is the Giants, and then if we take the Bills game, yeah. So since the Bills game, they haven't looked good at all, right?
Right.
So I really don't want to waste my time. And this is why I hate this stupid divisional rule. Sometimes this is 2 years where the worst division has home field advantage. I get you win a division, you get the home field, but maybe you got to win your division, right? I'm sorry, you got to win your division to get it. So, but this is where the Eagles home field advantage doesn't matter, man. It's just nice weather. If the Bucks were playing in that cold ass weather in Philadelphia, it might be a different game. But who knows? Actually, they probably would have lost still. So
yeah, the Eagles did not look like they wanted to play. From the beginning, like there was like, yo, we're here because we have to be.
All right, they're secondary. I mean, I'm saying good for Baker Mayfield. But 367 yards and 3 touchdowns with almost nearly a perfect quarterback rating. I mean, that's bad, bro. It was bad. It was a game. I don't want to waste my time. It was just terrible. Fire Nick Sirianni too. I would fire him because I just don't like him. He's a prick. But go ahead.
Well, the only thing I gotta say, because it was the day after my misery, was fall, Eagles fall. All the way to misery. Sorry, you guys were celebrating in your team hotel when the Cowboys, they were screaming and yelling when we lost. How's it feel? I actually think that their game was worse because I think the Bucks could have scored 50 points on them. And I'm not like making that like
they should have.
Right.
I know. Mike Evans dropped the touchdown.
Yeah, like I mean, they were just like, all right, we'll call off the dogs. It was really, really, really bad. So anyways, screw them.
I want to say the game I'm going to troll on last. The Bills, Steelers. I mean, I don't want to get too into it because I want to talk about the preview more, but
Yeah.
good game by the Bills. I know it's going to be a scrappy game. I called 31-17.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been really, different score because the Bills can't make a damn field goal with
Right.
27 yards. But
Right.
good. It was a good game. I was telling a lot of people, I was telling you too, this is going to be their tough game because they're playing against a cold weather team that runs the ball. And the Steelers defense is good, man. This was the second game they've given up 30 points all season. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a good game. And Josh Allen looked locked in.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah, I
talk
think
about that more in preview.
yeah, I think it was just very clear that the Steelers didn't have enough firepower. I was
Yes.
actually impressed with how the Steelers competed. They competed. It got a little, nerve-wracking in the third quarter because it was like 24-17 when it didn't really need to be, and you felt like the game was out of control. But
It was
the
21-0.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the Bills did what they needed to do. Like just beat them. Like that's what you do to teams that you're better than. You go out there, you beat them. Like that's
Yeah.
it, and you get through it. I'm like, I don't care how it is. You get through and you move on, and which is what they did. So props to them.
Yeah.
And then the last game, the coldest game was the fourth
Fourth.
fourth coldest game in NFL history or playoff history. I don't know if it's history or playoff history, but it was one of those. The Dolphins, Hard Knocks in season Dolphins lose
Woo!
26-7. And I'm watching the game. I was at a friend's house and I was just like, what are they doing? Like, I, I understand it's cold, and I don't think the cold had anything to do with it. Their offense looked atrocious. Like, I was like, you guys aren't doing anything, like nothing, not even like attempting to play. Um, it was sad. I thought the defense showed up. But Kansas City I thought they played well. I do think when I keep hearing everybody like, oh, Kansas City's back, I think it's a little pause a little bit. They had the ball like I felt like 90% of the game
Mhm.
because the Dolphins couldn't do anything. So if you have that many possessions, you better score. So scoring 26 points when you have, 15 possessions, or I don't know what I mean the number was, but it was a good amount, isn't saying that you did that great to me, you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
they did look better. Mahomes looked good. Those guys were making plays. It was a good win for them, I thought, actually. And it
Yeah.
bodes well for them moving forward. So what you
I,
got to say about your
let me
rivals?
let me concentrate on the sorry ass Finns for a second. So isn't it? I just love it. It's amazing to me that this team. I've been trying to tell people from the beginning. This is
Mhm,
why we have this podcast because we know football. I know sports very, very well,
mhm,
and so while I like Mike McDaniel's, right? I
mhm,
like him. I like he's a little quirky, nerdy. Kind of
mhm.
reminds me of some hippie I used to go to college with, right? Drink beer, smoke weed, whatever he was doing. He's cool, smart, nerdy dude. But just watching Hard Knocks just showed me what I thought I saw, right? So like last year they're like, oh, with Tua, if Tua didn't get hurt, we would have done something. Okay, well, Tua didn't get hurt this year, right? You guys scored 70 points in one game. You were the greatest show on the planet. You were compared to you were the best, not compared to, you were called the best offense ever, better than the greatest show on turf
Mhm.
past week 3. And then week 4 came, you got spanked by the Bills when you played a real team. Then you came back, we're like, oh, let me play Denver, play a different team, score. So you had the best offense. You had Tyreek Hill, where people say he's going to break the 2,000-yard record. Tua, better than Josh Allen. Better than Josh Allen. That is hilarious. I used to have a chat room like, oh, Tua's the second best quarterback. Better than Josh Allen. I'll never take Josh Allen over Tua. Those text messages, I can't wait to
You can't find them.
screenshot them
You
later.
can't find them anywhere. You're like, where do text messages now? It's all
Yeah.
quiet, right? It's silent.
So Tua's better. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, oh, we have so much speed. But I remember Colin talking about this to Herd said, you can't drive a Ferrari in the winter time, right? That's what he was said. When it gets cold, by the way, Mike McDaniel only won one game in December. Just to let people know, 2 years. One game is against the Cowboys, just FYI. People want to know one game in 2 years in December, January, one game, right? And so it was just, I find it fitting that they lost because their offense looked like absolutely trash. That was supposed to be the reason why they're supposed to do well, right? If you think about it, against the Cowboys game, in 11 quarters, take out the first half of the Cowboys game, 12 quarters, they've only scored 40 points. So that's 2 games and a half. They scored 40 points. Supposed to be the greatest show on turf. And I don't want to hear about injuries, about Jalen Waddle, because you have Tyreek. Right. I don't want to hear it because, injuries happen. Buffalo has injuries. Kansas City has injury. Everybody has injuries. The Cowboys have, some injuries, so I don't want to hear it. But your offense is supposed to be this, nuance, everyone mesmerized by how you have motion, everything, and you couldn't do a damn thing in the playoffs. Ty, I watched that game and saw Tua throwing balls. He looked like remember we used to play football and we used to call Lambeau Field in Rochester?
Yeah.
He looked like one of the scrubs that used to play quarterback because you needed to like the person is like, okay, you're probably the worst player, so we need you to at least throw the ball. Throw it up in the air somewhere.
Yeah, we'll
one
make
of
a
us
play.
will catch it. Yeah, because you can't play defense, you can't play offense. You're all-time quarterback because you so just throw it up there. That's what Tua did. Some of those balls were so terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible.
He was like, he didn't even try to grip the ball. Look like he was like you said, he was throwing it like this, like open palm, like
Yeah, right. What's crazy was like when watching Hard Knocks, she's like, "Oh, what a great play by Tua, Tyreek Hill." He underthrew and Tyreek Hill had to adjust it, bro. That was like, come on,
yes.
Like let's not talk about a great play. He looked like absolute trash. What makes it like he looked terrible,
right?
Absolutely terrible. And this is literally 3 games when they play against good teams, physical teams. They don't do well. And what makes it even sweeter? They had to pay him, so he's going to be in the the Dolphins have to pay him. They have to pay him.
I know.
So
they have no choice. I mean,
so no choice. So more to and you know what? It was lovely to see. Now from the Chiefs, I don't think they looked that. Personally, I didn't think they looked that good. I mean, we'll talk about more. I just think more of because you got to remember they played against 8 backups on defense. Come on, man! Like really 5 starters, 5 new starters. I mean, I couldn't believe I saw Bruce Irving out there. I was like, Bruce Irving still in the league? so Justin Houston? Ingram is one biscuit away from looking like a nose tackle. I mean, like,
he did. I was like, man, he looked a little swellish. That's why when they saw the Hard Knock, he was going out there getting that meal. I was like, you gotta need to slave off, calm off that meal a little bit. Get you a salad.
Right. So that's just great. I mean, Kansas City, that was a good win for them. They needed to win that, but I didn't think they were as good as if it was. All I could tell you was 7-16 at halftime. If Miami's defense, the defense that had 5 starters was playing well. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Tua looked terrible.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. So it was a wild card weekend. It was really the Lions game was the only close game. Unfortunately, all the other ones there was really no question about who was going to win those games. And so now we have our divisional matchups, man.
Yes, sir.
We got in the NFC, you got the San Francisco 49ers against the Green Bay Packers, and you have the Lions versus the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are going to Detroit. So Detroit still ends up getting another home game thanks to a team that will not be named not being able to show up. And then the other conference, we have the Ravens hosting the Texans in a rematch of week 1 against and the Bills are playing the Chiefs, which is another rematch. So I think all these games have been played once this season, except for the San Francisco Packers game. That's the only first time that these have been playing. So let's start. Where do you want to start? What game do you want to start? I'll let you start.
I want to start with the Lions Bucks. I think that's been the most interesting. Line is 6.5, which is
I think
I
that's
mean,
interesting too.
and the over/under is 49.5, which is another interesting point, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about it.
So do you remember do you remember that game? Because
Yeah,
that was our featured game, remember?
yeah, but
That week was our featured game because we wanted to see if the Lions were for real and the Bucks were playing well. I think the Bucks were like 3-1 at that time or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, it was
They
an
were
ugly game
yeah.
too.
And it was actually it was on the other day again and I kind of watched it again. Very ugly game. It was 10-6 going into the fourth quarter.
Right.
And the Lions pulled away. I the Lions. Okay, I'm going to go talk a little bit about the Lions' perspective then. Oh, is it you brought this one up? Um, they can't cover anybody. Okay, it's very clear that they cannot cover. If you have guys that can go out there and catch passes, you're going to be able to get passes caught on them. Like they gave, I mean, Stafford what 380 yards, 375 yards passing
Yeah,
last week.
yeah.
Dallas, we weren't even playing that great, and Dak threw for 300 and something, and Justin Fields threw for I don't know how many yards when he played, and then Nick Mullins threw for 400 yards on them like twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now they're winning games. Don't get me wrong, they're winning, but that's an issue. So I do think Tampa is going to have um, a chance to make some plays there. The only issue that I think is going to really come to play is that Tampa's secondary isn't that great either. They
Yeah,
looked a lot better against Philly, but kind of not really, because I mean, only one player came to play, and that was a Slim Reaper, and he had like 160 yards receiving.
right.
So that's not good when no AJ Brown, and they're going to throw to one guy, and you still can't guard him. So I do think both secondary. That's why I understand why the over under is high, but the difference is Tampa still can't run the ball. Like and I like
No,
Rashad White.
terrible.
He's a good back actually. It's not even a bad back,
Fantasy, great because he gets a lot of the volume.
but they cannot run the ball at all. So you're coming in Detroit. They have a good pass rush, man. Hutchinson, man, that kid's the truth. Like he's legit. Like I
Why was he? Why
yeah.
was he picked number one? But that's a different topic for
Oh
a
yeah,
different
that's
day.
right. That's right. He was pick number two. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess he wanted to go to Detroit. Um,
Right.
so I really don't know who's gonna win. I actually think it's gonna be a very close game. I think I would take the Bucks with the points of 6.5
Right.
personally, but I think the Lions are gonna win
Right.
uh, 24-20.
Right.
24-19 or something. Like the Bucks will like drive down the field a bunch of times, but then not get a touchdown because they're gonna double Mike Evans and Baker won't be able to make the play. And unfortunately, I still can't get that Panthers game out of my head, man. That 9-0 game, I just can't get that out of my head. I just can't. So
Right.
I'm not picking the Bucks, even though I wouldn't be surprised if they won.
So let's start off with this. The reason why I picked this game, Baker or Golf are going to be in the NFC Championship game. That's two bust. I think Baker more of a bust, but guys, got kind of traded around.
Number one
Yeah,
picks.
that's number one, not back to back, but number one almost a few years apart. So there's a difference between last time I remember watching the game we did feature, it was like I think Detroit was 4-1 and the Bucks were 3-2 or 3-1, like you said before. There's two difference. Both teams couldn't run. They actually couldn't run at all. They had 42 yards, and Jahmyr Gibbs was hurt.
Right,
I know because I have a fantasy. Okay, so Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't there, and Jahmyr Gibbs, even if he was healthy, is a totally different running back now than he was week 6 whenever they played. Right?
Yeah.
So he's a different guy. Jared Goff threw for 353 yards. That's why I'm picking him into my Survivor Fantasy League. I think he's gonna have a lot of yards. Detroit. When you look at the two teams, right? So when they last played, Detroit's defense does give up a lot of points, but they almost have a bend don't break kind of style. You saw in the Rams game, and I like Baker, but Baker ain't gonna slice up for 387 yards and 3 touchdowns like he did before, right? So What if I'm Detroit? You got to run the ball a lot more than you did last time. Don't get they get sometimes they get like they did against the Rams game. They get a little too pass happy.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to run the ball more and make Baker beat you. Like
Yeah.
don't blitz four man fronts, put linebackers in zone, and let Baker. If Baker cooks and beats you, I rather let Baker beat me than
Right.
blitzing, leaving Mike Evans 1-on-1 or Chris Godwin 1-on-1
Right.
with somebody. You're gonna need people help, right? So
Yep.
let
Yep.
them beat you. And if I'm Tampa, you do not let Baker. Don't let Jared Goff be calm and collected like he did last time.
Right.
He was getting no pressure in that game.
Right.
Like, I mean, the reason why they couldn't score is because they couldn't run the ball
Right.
because the Buccaneers actually are good at run. But
Yeah.
you're gonna have to you gotta rattle Jared Goff. You're gonna have to rattle him. And the Rams did not do that. They should have done that in the beginning. They did it towards the end, but in the
Yeah.
beginning they were just letting him sit in the pocket, and he had
Right.
all day just throwing the ball. Right,
Yeah, I don't
so
understand. Yeah, I don't
that's what
understand
they
why
got to
that.
do.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, they were 4 and it was the Lions were 4-1 and the Bucks were 3-1 at that game. So they were both
Okay.
had one loss. But yeah, man, it's interesting. I mean, actually look at some of the stats real quick. The Lions they had 40 yards rushing and the Bucks had 46 yards rushing. So I mean, it was both debacle.
Hmm.
But yeah, so one of those teams are going to get a chance to go to the NFC Championship, which is good for them. I think the Lions are better than the Bucks, but I don't know if that says much. But I will say this, and this is not to go back to last week. I do think the Lions had the best win of any team last week.
Yeah, me too. That's what I agree.
They played the best team. Like the Rams were the best team that lost that week because they're even better than us. I didn't want to play the Rams. because the Rams didn't play bad, so it was like so they actually had to beat a good
One
team.
pass interference call from winning the game.
Yep, and if they win, they definitely would have beat the Bucks, because
Yeah.
that's who they would have had to play, which would have been
Yeah,
crazy.
because
Imagine the Bucks would have had a home game again. That would have been crazy.
Baker.
No, Baker had 2 home games. That's insane. All right, so
Texans
next
game next.
yeah,
Go
Texans. Yes, let's go Texans. Texans.
Be more.
Yeah,
Baltimore.
be more. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, first off, we can't really use the last game because it was the first game of the season.
It was
right.
first game of the season. Yeah.
I don't trust Lamar in the playoffs. I mean, there's a stat out there. I know a lot of people. I'm going to get some flack over it because people think I'm a Lamar hater, but he's just not good in the playoffs. I mean, he has 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in the playoffs. With 1 win, he's 1 for 2. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just. I just don't trust him in the playoff, and the reason why I don't trust him in the
1-3,
playoff.
I think 1-3.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 and 3. Did I say 1 and 3?
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, so this is where playoff football people forget playoff football, right? So, and same thing with we talk about NBA playoffs. You play you're playing it. This is possibly your last game you're gonna play, right? So this is where coaches start getting bringing out stuff that they didn't have before and save, right? So they started adjusting, and also Baltimore probably was not prepared. Maybe they were prepared for the Texans. I don't know, right? So you don't know who you're playing. You think maybe Baltimore or the Texans. Maybe I know because everyone knew Miami wasn't winning. So you were gonna play. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be the Browns or right.
Right. So you got to confuse. So this is Lamar's, and I hate when you sit players and the starters. Some of the starters did not play for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's not just easy to play. Football is a very, obvious physical game where you have to be mentally ready to go. I was actually one of my neighbors played ex-NFL player. He told me a story about, especially playing linebacker. He's like, you got to be mentally prepared to get hit. Like you just can't go out there and just like, oh, let me just play. So
right.
So that's why you'll see these teams in the past that don't have buys who go on this run. The Giants. Last year, 2 years ago, the Buccaneers, they go on these runs because they're just
Niners.
Niners, they're in football mode and they didn't have a break. So let's see how that works. But this is the key to me out of the game, right? I'm going to keep it very simple. It's not Lamar. It is going to be the secondary. Baltimore has one weakness that people don't talk about a lot, okay? Their second, and they're hurt. Their secondary likes to give up big plays. It's not as many as you think, but they do like to give up big plays because they like to get picks. Their safeties are not good. Their safeties are great run stoppers, right? They're great run
Hamilton's pretty good.
stoppers.
Yeah.
Hamilton, and I forgot the other. Oh my God, the guy Stone. Geno Stone has 7
Just Stone,
interceptions.
yeah.
So they're good run stoppers, get interception, but a lot of the interceptions came with trash teams. But when they play against teams that can throw the ball deep, they could do well. And this is where, Tank Dell's out there, but Nico Collins is emerging, 6'4" guy that's big. He gets, he can get deep on them. So if they don't put any pressure on CJ Stroud, he throws a lovely deep ball. That's a game. But CJ Stroud is also going to need to hit Schultz too. You're gonna have to, because the Baltimore Ravens are going to blitz him. So you're gonna have to blitz that ball. He holds onto the ball a little too long for me. Like he likes to hold the ball. And sometimes he thinks Marvin Harrison Jr. is out there. Like you got to throw the ball out. So that's gonna be the key. So Lamar has to show up, but I don't trust him. We'll see. But I think this is a trap game personally. I would not be surprised they lose to. I'm calling it right now. If I would not be surprised the Texans lose. And I think this is actually going to be a closer game than people expect. Like I would bet the Texans with the spread of 9.5. So
yeah. It's interesting. I kind of agree with you. So I remember this game. I actually remember us talking about this game because remember I said I didn't think so. I was wrong clearly about the Texans. I said I don't know if the Texans are going to be good this year, but I know they're going to keep games close. I was like, all their games are going to be close. They're going to be in every game. I could just tell. Like you could tell by the personnel they had, and the defensive guys they had that they were going to be able to compete. So I actually remember I watched the first half of this game. It was 7-6. It was close game. And then the Ravens just swallowed them up. And it wasn't like they started scoring a whole bunch of points. They just stopped Houston from being able to do anything. They had 5 sacks, and were able to control the line of scrimmage and made things very difficult for CJ Stroud. I think he's such a better player now.
Oh yeah.
That I don't think I'm not saying he's going to have like a field day because I don't agree with that. Noah Brown is out for the season. And I'm not saying he's great, but that doesn't help them. So it's now you really need Robert Woods to show up and play football, which he hasn't, you haven't even heard through him all season. And what's his name? The Mechie from Alabama.
So, he's non-existent this year, but
I know. He made a big play the other day. I was surprised. I was like, oh, he's playing. Good for him. So they're gonna need, like you said, I think they're gonna need Dalton Schultz, whose hands are very suspect. He tried to drop that long touchdown, by the way. I was like, I don't know about that. I think Dallas came out on that, but again, we're not talking about Dallas. I do think those guys are gonna have to make plays, and they're gonna have to somehow be able to run the football. Like they're gonna have to. I mean, they tried the last game, and it just wasn't good. Yeah. Dameon Pierce.
So they got to go Devin. They got to get Motor
had 7 carries for 15 yards, so he wasn't doing anything either. So
that was game 1. Yeah,
that was game 1, but it's the Ravens are better than they were then, just like the Texans are better. Like the Ravens weren't that great. Lamar didn't have a great game. I mean, he didn't have a bad game. He had 5 incompletions and a pick, but so I think the key actually is the start. Here's a stat for you, Mr. Stat Guy. You know how many points the Ravens have scored in the first quarter of their playoff games with Lamar?
0.
0.
Yeah.
0.
I know.
So if that happens, it's panic. I saw panic last week. I know what panic looks like. Mm-hmm. If the Texans are up 7-0 or 10-0 and then the first quarter, it's over. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm telling you right now, it's over. And it's not because the Texans are better than them. It's because now they're going to start to press and panic. And Lamar's going to try to do a lot of things. I think Lamar's going to be fine. I actually don't think the Texans are going to be up. I think that the Ravens are actually going to show up and be very motivated. I think they're a different team. But if they don't, and they're just down, even if it's like 3-0, they're going to be a little worried. They're like, all of a sudden we can't score. But I'm going to pick the Ravens to win.
Me too. I am too. I'm saying the spread.
But definitely not the spread. But it's like it's a weird game. I actually could see it going either way. I could see the Texans winning, or I could see the Ravens blowing them out. Like I could see both. Like I don't see the Texans scoring, 30 points or something like they did last week. I don't see that. And the one thing I did know about last week's game against the Browns is the Browns had a lot of opportunities. There was a lot of wide open people, a lot. And so the Ravens are going to be able to do that. And the Ravens are going to run the ball. Like they're the best running team, and they're not going to stop. So, yeah, so I'm going to pick the Ravens. We're going to be a good game, though. It's going to be a good game. I actually thought about going, but it's dead cold here, and nobody else wanted to go. So I was watching it in the confines of my house. All right. So next game we'll talk about is the Packers 49ers. So there's I've been listening to a lot of people talk about this game, Thomas, and they're like, hey, the 49ers better watch out, man. The I'm telling you, this Packers team, they showed something last week, like they're gonna be just difficult to stop and just blah 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 blah. That's all BS, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now. They about to get spanked.
You think so?
Spanked. And here's why. They're playing the anti-Cowboys. The 49ers show up focused. Even the Ravens game they lost, the Ravens just played better. The 49ers are not going to show up and underestimate the Packers. They are physical at all times. The Packers out physical Dallas because we're not physical at all times. We have to be in the right mindset to be physical. We weren't. The 49ers get out of bed with that mindset. They're showing up physical. Their front line, both their lines. So I do think the Packers can do a little something because, again, I never thought San Francisco secondary is that great. But I do know that their line is going to show up, and they got like 10 guys on their defensive line that they can continue to ship in that are going to have pressure, and they're going to be able to stop the run, which will not allow all these crazy bootlegs and like play action stuff to work. If I'm stopping the run, I'm not even worried about it, right? Like I'm not worried about your play action. I'm guarding these guys, and their linebackers are exceptional versus corners or whatever or safeties that we had. So anybody using last week's game for a reason why they're going to win is sadly mistaken. And I don't think the Packers are a bad team at all. I don't think they're a bad team. They're not in the stratosphere of the 49ers. They're not even in the region of them. Right. So I don't even know what the line is. What's the line? 9.5. I would take the Niners if I was betting. I'm not going to bet on those big spread games, but I would take the Niners. I think it's going to be a 34-13 game.
Right. I mean,
14.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, can get annihilated.
I mean, I don't like Brock. I'm not a fan of Brock Purdy. But I mean, this is well, that's what. If I'm the Packer, I mean, to your point, does add more to your point. On paper, it does not look good for the Packers. So I was looking at like, how can the Packers win? Mm-hmm. You're gonna stop the run. You have to stop the run, and you're gonna have to make Brock Purdy throw the ball.
Right.
And that's the only way. The way you're gonna win. That's how they lost. That's what the Ravens did. You saw what the Ravens did, made him in a passer and throw those picks.
Yep.
And then on offense, if you can get somewhat of a running game, so you can make the linebackers come in. There's the weakness of the 49ers is their corners. Their corners are not very good. I mean, they're just not. I mean, they're not. But the reason why, you got to remember when your D line is getting at people, right? You can rush 4. Yeah. You can put people out there to help. But if you could run the ball and do play action, this is where Jordan Love is at his best, is play action. Mm-hmm. If you can run the ball and commit linebackers, then you can get those guys. Because what people forgot last week was their best receiver. Well, you can argue with their best receiver, but Jalen Reed is, to me, I like him. I think their best receiver. Christian Watson, he hasn't panned out that well, injuries, whatever. He didn't even get a catch last week. So if they can Yeah, they didn't need him. If they can get some play action, give him the ball, they have a chance to win. But the problem is that if the Niners will come in prepared, Shanahan doesn't play games. They're going to run the ball down their throat. That's just how it's going to be, and it's gonna be a tough game. They're gonna have to have a perfect game near to even pull the upset.
Yeah, they're gonna need things to fall. They're gonna need honestly, they're gonna need them to not show up. Like that's to me the
Yeah.
only way that they're gonna win this game. They need to play like they did last week, and they need the 49ers to not show up.
Well,
Because
Brock Purdy show up.
yeah, but even even if Brock Purdy doesn't play, I don't even think he's gonna have like an amazing game. But even if he doesn't, they can still win. Like
Yeah,
that's
just
the
run the
way.
ball. You're right.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
run the ball. I mean, I really think that. I mean, even and we're not even that great a running team, but we were actually running the ball pretty decent.
Right.
We were getting down, like we were down, so we were like, all right, well, we got to throw the ball 100 times because you know. So, and that's not, and I hate the Packers, by the way. I just watching the game confirmed how much I hate both these teams. So, these two like the two non-NFC East teams that I hate the least in the
What?
NFC.
Yeah.
I can't stand the Packers and I can't stand the freaking 49ers. So I would
Is
wish both teams could lose, but they can't. So the 49ers
is
get screwed.
Is Dre Greenlaw playing because
Yep.
Achilles?
Yep.
He is. Okay,
Yep.
so well, that's gonna be a tough game.
There
All right. Yep.
will be rough for them.
All right. Well, let's go to the feature.
Yep. There we go. We got the featured game of the week.
And it's feature game of the week because it's a Sunday night on purpose, Sunday night football. Well, not well, yeah, Sunday night, 5:30 my time, 6:30 Eastern.
Yeah.
So let me break this game down in two words. James Cook. See, be with I was going to say Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
James Cook is going. So I was doing my research, rewatching this film from the last game, right?
hmm
Now, people are going to say, well, Donovan Smith was like Nick Wright's so annoying. He's like, oh, Donovan Smith wasn't there and Pacheco was hurt. Okay. And I believe Drew Tranquil was the other guy. First of all, their left side is absolutely trash. Their tackles are terrible. So let's go. So it doesn't matter who was hurt. So it is what it is. But one person wasn't playing, I know, for Buffalo. His name was Daquan Jones, who is by far their best defensive tackle when it comes run stopping. So when I say James Cook, everyone's going to want this game to be 2 years ago. I don't see it being a shootout. I know a lot of people think it is. Maybe it is. I might be wrong, but I really don't see it as a shootout. Nor do I want it to be a shootout, right? So, so I don't see it being a shootout. I just think this is going to be like a more. Now the Chiefs scored what 26 points last week, right?
Yep.
So they haven't scored more than 30 in 8 weeks. So and Buffalo's offense has been hit or miss. So shootout maybe comes down to that, but it's really going to be the running game and who stops the run.
Yeah.
James Cook for Buffalo is the key. If James Cook can run the ball. And by the way, the Chiefs are the worst defense when it comes to running backs catching the ball out of backfield, ranked literally number 32 in the NFL, statistically wise. And you saw him score a touchdown last time, right? So if James Cook can get the ball, run the ball, and he can catch the ball out the backfield, that's great. So the next part, I would say, for Buffalo, just talking through the win, and then I'll talk with KC.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis ain't playing. Okay. So I know everybody's going to say, oh, Gabe had 4 touchdowns and he scored a touchdown in the Chiefs game. I like, yeah, Gabe.
Not this year.
Oh, last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he has 0 catches in that game.
Oh, yeah. 0. My apologies. You're right. I'm thinking about the,
the last
Chargers game.
Yeah.
Last season. So, and also thinking of Chargers game. Got no messed up. But Gabe had 0 catches, which that's what I'm going to point out. I'm going to go through the notes. So not only did he have 0 catches, he had 2 games in a row with 0 catches. Actually, so he had. Not only did he have 0 catches, he didn't do anything. Gabe Davis' job, literally, if you watch him, is the most frustrating thing on film. Is he runs go routes, but he doesn't run a 4.4 40. So he's slow, and the slowest release in God's green earth. So he does clear routes. He's a great run blocker. Shakir 60-yard screen that he had 2 weeks ago, right? When he played against Dolphins, that was Gabe blocking, right? So Gabe is actually a great blocker. So now that they have Shakir and Dalton Kincaid, they use more twitchy guys in the middle. You see how the Bills' offense just looked much better without Gabe in the game. Josh Allen didn't throw an interception, right? 10 out of 18 picks are towards Gabe. They're using Dalton Kincaid in the slot. They're using the middle. It just looks like a better offense.
Yes, it does.
And Trent Sherfield could do the same damn thing Gabe can do, clear routes and can block, right? So you don't really need him.
Right.
So I just feel that Josh Allen, I'll say it again, 10 out of 18 interceptions, 2 of them in a Dolphins game.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 18 interceptions are targets to Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because he's like, I think Dave's really, really tough and I know he can reliable and he might catch the ball. The man doesn't adjust to any fucking balls in the air. It's so annoying, right? So now that Josh Allen doesn't have that kind of like, okay, let me try to get it to Gabe somehow. And he's like, gets it to his other guys who actually catch the ball and want to make a play. It's a different game. On the Kansas City side of it, I don't know the problem with Kansas City, I don't know what offense you're going to get. Travis Kelce, it looks washed up. Rice, I mean, he's good, but he's not. Rasul can kind of eliminate him at number 1, right? So Tony is just, they might get Sky Moore back. So the key to them is going to be Pacheco and maybe Mr. Watson, right? Somebody that you don't know. So
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So if you give, the problem is don't give Patrick Mahomes time. I know you can't blitz him because he's amazing out of the pocket. So Sean McDermott, I just feel is going to come out his bag to like trick Patrick Mahomes. But I'll say this because I don't want to talk too much Chiefs. I'll let you talk about it more. You asked to be home. You haven't played Mahomes at home with a crowd. You only played him one time through the COVID year, lost to him with a crowd. So he has never felt Bill Mafia. He has not seen, he hasn't seen snowballs get thrown. He's never seen degenerate, drunk hillbillies out there, okay, from Buffalo. So it's going to be something new to him. He's never been in an atmosphere like this before. This is something, there's no atmosphere like Buffalo. We've been, so I think he's going to be shocked. And if you notice, Patrick Mahomes has been acting like a Mitch. I'm sorry, guys. He's been really in his real emotional, complaining and stuff like that. So got to get in his head a little bit. Can you get in his head? So that's just for the Bills.
Yeah, man. It's this is the game.
Right.
So I mean, I'm like, it took me such a while to get over my game that, I know I'm over it because I've been thinking a lot about this game, like a lot. That means I'm over mine and I'm on to, my second favorite team, which is the Bills. A couple things that people have to realize about this game. One, as you mentioned, the Bills are at home, which is a big deal. And it's not just that it's cold, but it's also cold. I don't know if you recognized it last week, which I thought was an advantage against the Steelers, is cold and turf is different than cold and natural grass.
Oh, yes.
Did you see on I don't know was it a touchdown or it was a run, but I think it was Patrick Peterson. Like he couldn't get his footing. It's just a different.
He got juked. You talking about the one he got juked?
Yes, yeah, we got juked.
Okay.
Your footing is different. It's different on turf cold versus grass cold. Now you might say, oh, whatever. I'm like, Kansas City doesn't have that because I looked at their practice facility. It's turf, and that's what they've been practicing on. But it's indoors. It's not outdoors. So I think that's gonna also be some kind of factor when you start talking about passing game, and you already got guys that are already not confident in catching the ball. And now they're going to have to start running routes and like start to do a little choppy feet because they don't know whether they're going to slip or not.
Right.
That's going to be a big advantage for Buffalo. Big advantage for Kansas City, though. And I know people are like, whatever. It's a freaking huge deal, man. And I can't get over it. It is the fact that the Bills had to play that game on Monday and the Chiefs played on Saturday. You got two extra days. So you're playing, it's already tough playing a short week. When you see teams that play Monday night football games and then they have to play on Sunday, they might win, but they struggle. That's a hard game, especially the other team has had time off. The Chiefs have had an extra day, 2 days to get better, healed, pretty much already. I mean, prepared. I don't really count that because both teams know each other well enough. What are you gonna prepare? They know each other. Like I don't. They just played each other 5 weeks ago or whatever, 6 weeks ago. So I'm not. I don't buy into that. But I am telling you that you're gonna see early. The physicality in this game is going to be big. If the Bills are if they really fully spent the last 3 days, which it sucks because it's again is a disadvantage, getting their bodies right, more so than the game planning, I think that's just going to help them. Because if not, I don't have a good feeling about this one.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to me. It's not even that I believe the Bills are a better team than the Chiefs. I just think after a certain period of time, your body is like, yo, if I could come out and fire off the ball consistently, because like you said, I agree with you. I think it's a line of scrimmage game. It's running the football, it's stopping the run, it's being physical. It's going to be a physical football game. They already know each other. So can the Bills guys hold up? Now, the one thing that the Bills have in their favor, which sounds bad, is that they had guys that were injured last week that didn't play that will play this week.
Key guys, too.
Key guys, right? Not like just some random dudes like Rasul Douglas and Tank Johnson.
Terrell Dotson, yeah.
And Terrell Dotson. So that's 3 key guys. And why that's important is because that could, I think that will help with some of that physicality and being physically ready to play, even though they were coming off injury. Fresh legs, fresh bodies, the more fresher team has got an advantage.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think, like you said, I think it's going to be low scoring. I worry about, like I said, I think James Cook's got to play a big game. He's got to catch it. I worry about the Bills' run defense. I've always said that, and they play well, but they're gonna have to play their best game. You got middle line, you got AJ Klein coming out there again. He was in the RV. Can he do that 2 weeks in a row? That's gonna be key. He's gonna have to play, even if he's coming off the bench. He's gonna have to make some plays. So I think those are gonna be the keys to the game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I look at it like this because I didn't talk about defense. So home field advantage. So that's what I'm saying with Pat, and I agree with you. That does suck. Thank God if they're on the road, even worse, right? So this is where Bills. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be ready in the beginning. It's going to take a while. How loud it's going to be in that damn stadium. He's already has terrible communication with his wide receivers, right? So the Bills got to use. For the way I look at it is like, I agree with 2 days injuries. That's why I didn't talk about injuries. I don't want to hear the excuses. You got to win this game. This is Josh Allen's legacy on the line. Like, to me, and I don't care if he has 5 touchdowns, 480,000 yards, or not 80,000, but 480 yards. If you lose the game, that's what people look at. Like, damn, you lost 0-3 to Patrick Mahomes. Yep. So these motherfuckers better be up. I don't give a damn if they have to take shots. I don't know what it is, but they better be up and ready to go. I know. And our people are talking about injuries. Guys, there's no injuries on to me, the most important position. There's no injuries, okay? Which is the D-line and the O-line, which they've been getting killed the last 2 years in the playoffs, right? So that's the 2 places that are injuries. So Leonard Floyd, he paid him that much money because he didn't go get a wide receiver. He needs to show up. Vaughn, don't get me started with him, but Ed Oliver, you're having a all-pro year. You need to show up. And the secondary, the Chiefs' offense is not that scary. I'm sorry, wide receiver not that scary. Dame can hold his own. Thank God they got Rasul, right? So all you got to do is focus on Rasul. Rasul got to focus on Rice, and then Taron Johnson is big because they're going to need him employer for Travis Kelce. Yeah. But that leads me to the next point. The key to this on defense, people always talk about the D-line. is the two old men back there that got to show some damn fountain of youth. The way you beat Patrick Mahomes is your safeties have to communicate, see everything in front of you, make sure that the zones are okay. Because Patrick Mahomes is one of the killer zone guys in the league, where he starts seeing, that's why he makes his off-script passes. So you got to make sure. So I get that Bernard got hurt, but this is the time. So Buffalo, I'm gonna send it. I hope if you're watching this, any Bills fans or everybody, no excuse. The worst Chiefs team you're playing. Everyone, people are now doubting you, by the way. People are now saying Shady, I thought Shady was in Buffalo longer. He was on a Chiefs team, won a ring as a trash player. Talking about, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes here, Shady. and then the Sam Acho, all the haters out there, the Nick Wrights of the world, Chris Passaro still believes in you. This is time to show. This is time. Because I really feel whoever wins this game is going to Super Bowl. I'm not sold on Baltimore. I'm sorry, I'm just not. So.
Wow, that's actually funny. It's funny. We didn't even talk about that, but I've been maybe I guess because we're similar. I agree too. I thought that if these two teams played, I think the winner is going to Super Bowl. I think they will be prepared for next week. They will have great momentum going into wherever they play. Because again, I still don't know. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to be the Ravens. I think it's going to be the Ravens, but I'm not guaranteeing that. They've shown that they can choke.
Right.
And there's no Marlon Humphrey, by the way. So that makes it.
And even when he was there, he's suspect, by the way, this year. Right. But again, people forget playoff football regular season. They're like, oh, they spanked the 49ers and the fraud Dolphins. Playoff football is different. When there's no game the next day or next week, possibly, right? Yeah. And when teams now know you're the only opponent that you have to play, like nobody can see. People don't care about the next game; they care about only the opponent. This is where I get that Lamar Jackson is the second youngest player ever to have 2 MVPs, which I don't think he had a great year anyways. I wouldn't give him MVP, but whatever. It was just a terrible year for MVPs. Should have been Christian McCaffrey, my personal opinion. But anyways, but Lamar as a passer, he has to show me something. He showed me against the Rams game. I'll give him credit. During that Rams game, 37-31, he showed me. But when Lamar has to be a passer, I know I'm going to be called a hater. He don't show up. You know how many fourth quarter wins Lamar has, guys? Outside this year, he has one fourth quarter win, and he had one this year. Just throwing a stat out there. He is ranked 28th with starting quarterbacks when it comes to fourth quarter QBR. Prior this year he actually got much better. But I'm just saying
he's better this year.
Yeah,
he's better this year. It's his time. It's his time. He better. Right. Just put it this way. I for his sake, I hope they don't lose. Like I really want them to win. So at least he gets to the.
No, I do. I just want to troll the Ravens.
Of course. I know, but I mean, I don't hate him. I want him to do.
Not like him.
I wouldn't mind him doing okay. But he better show up. You're not giving anything. I don't care if you win MVP. Show up in the playoffs, get your team a win, and move to the next round.
I love Lamar. The teams are dumb as hell that didn't take him. Like imagine Atlanta had him. But I just don't like Ravens fans. I got one in particular that I'm a friend. He annoys the shit out of me. I can't stand their ass. Yeah, but all I know is if the Ravens won the Super Bowl against the 49ers, I'll be cheering for the Ravens.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Anybody against the 49ers, I'm rooting for the damn.
The only team I won't cheer for them if they played in the Super Bowl against would be the Lions, because everyone wants to see the Lions win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That would be
that would be actually that's true. I don't hate the Lions, I'm still mad at that stupid talk. But yep, all right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to this game. I hope I'm wrong with who I think is gonna win.
Which game?
The Bills.
Oh, you think Chiefs are gonna win?
I have a feeling that that's going to happen. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but I just have one of those feelings, and I think you'll see. I mean, I just think physicality and stuff it matters. It really does matter at this time of the year. I really think it does. Bills can show me a lot, though. I think they're the better team, so but
I mean, it's
all you got is your body.
right.
All you got is your
But
body.
yeah,
You know.
technically, the
So,
Chiefs are favored. Technically,
yeah.
if you think about Vegas, it's 2.5
Vegas, right?
points.
Yeah, it's 2.5 points, right?
People,
So-
people, which was just kind of weird because some Nick Wright annoying self was like, I can't believe they're not favored. Well, technically in Vegas standard, I mean, you're the gambler, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
talking about gambling on there, like you give the home team 3 points all the time.
Yes, it's a guaranteed home team gets 3 points. That means 3 points means they're even.
Right.
If it's 2.5, that means they think that the Chiefs are slightly better.
Yeah.
So, yep, we will see, man. All right. Well, we have gotten to the end of this show. Is coming this
Go Bills.
Go Bills. Hey, thank you guys for another week, another episode. We appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you next week. All right, later.
Take care.